television is a lie because you chose to start the camera and you chose to turn the camera off. And then you cut 200 more lies into it in the edit. Right. And that doesn't mean you're being dishonest, but they're still not true because they're edits. And, people don't understand that can air on TV forever. They can watch what, about half the people that would go on Shark Tank would walk out of the hallway and they wouldn't remember it. I had participants where I had to say, you got a deal. Like, what? I made a deal? Yeah, you made a deal, man, because it would black it out.
Hello and welcome to Here in LA, North Hollywood edition. Today, we talk to Ben McShane. Ben is a cat dad, a kid dad, a TV producer, and one of the most upbeat, fun people you'll ever meet. He and his family live in a beautiful home in North Hollywood, where he and I talked about why he moved to LA from the Midwest, what it was like covering the Michael Jackson trial as a young journalist, and how much fun it was producing BattleBots and Shark Week, Shark Tank. So let's head down the 134 and meet Ben McShane. Hey everybody, I am in North Hollywood with Ben McShane. Hey!
High Register Masculine Voice Squad in formation.
And Ben, we know each other from Twitter?
Yeah, probably. In the before times when Google Reader gave everyone their information, I had BusBlog hooked up on my Google Reader, and I read it every day.
Oh, God bless you.
Yeah, my favorite thing about this podcast is actually to see the BusBlog characters and hear them talk, because you've interviewed all of them.
Who else have I interviewed?
Katie Bain. I listened to that one the other day. She was great.
Oh, Katie's awesome. Yeah.
Everyone knows Joy Ng. I don't actually know her, but I know her for BusBlog.
Right.
I've met Scott Sterling, and we'll talk about it, but he was adjacent to when I was doing music blogging. So
yeah.
But and a handful of others. Now I can't.
Speaking of music, you're wearing a beautiful Dinosaur Jr. T-shirt.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that design before.
This was, it's a later one. This was from the year that they did Coachella, probably 2014, 15, something like that.
I don't remember them at Coachella.
Yeah, it was great.
Did the kids like it?
I think so, but I've not been since I think 2015.
Right.
But that was the period where there was a public consciousness of Coachella. It was very celebrity woo-woo, but there were still packs of indie rock nerds going to see the bands.
Yes.
They were still getting Suede or Pulp or someone to play. So.
Okay, so Ben, you were TV Ben for a little while on Twitter because you've worked in TV.
For a long time.
Now, see, here's the interesting thing about this podcast. I'm trying to dispel the belief that everybody's in the industry in LA.
Right.
We're doing a bad job with you.
That's okay. I am.
Give us some of your credits. What shows have you worked on?
Yeah, so I worked on Shark Tank. I worked on BattleBots. I worked on a one-season show, Steve Harvey's Thunderdome. Yep. Steve made me a punching bag for an audience gag between takes. I have it on tape. It's amazing. I love it. And I worked at Legendary Digital under the Nerdist brand for a couple of years.
Nerdist did what?
That was Chris Hardwick's website originally.
Right.
But then when everyone thought there was going to be a pivot to video because Facebook lied to the world and millions of dollars of budgets and jobs realigned themselves because they wanted to pump up their numbers.
Which by the way, isn't Facebook's fault. It's these people's fault.
Yeah, sure. So, but no. So, Legendary Entertainment, the film company, decided they wanted a digital imprint, and they bought up Nerdist. They bought up Geek and Sundry, which is like a Dungeons and Dragons info website. It's kind of down now. And they bought Amy Poehler's Smart Girls, which was a YouTube channel that did very cool, tween girl power stuff. And then they had this notion that they could create a niche video on demand / streaming subscription platform. Pay $5. And it's
what year was this?
2016 is when it started, the end of 2016, and then I think the platform finally closed in early 2019.
So they were a little ahead of the game.
Yeah, well, it was very much a VC situation, right? So they had gotten a bunch of VC money to do this and combined, and no one knew anything. And the great thing was upstairs was so trying to figure out, is this even monetizable, that the producers downstairs just put whatever we wanted on the platform and no one was paying attention. It was a dream.
Great.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Okay, so one thing I know from your Twitter, and it's great to be in your house. Thanks for inviting me here.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
We're in beautiful North Hollywood. You might hear some planes from the nearby Burbank Airport. You've got a ton of cats.
9 cats.
And there was a video that you showed that I'll put into the blog if I can find it, or maybe you can send it to me.
Sure.
Of feeding time here at this house, where all the cats are. You've got these like really cool. I was telling my mom they were shelves, but these aren't shelves. These are like,
oh my God,
a weird bridge.
Bus blog mom knows who I am. That's amazing. No. So that I made that. That's a good excuse to buy a drill press at Harbor Freight, and those are IKEA bed slats cut into threes.
And so you have this as, I want to say, a 12-foot long.
That's about right. It's like an Indiana Jones rope bridge.
Right. For the cats to like cruise around near the ceiling.
Uh-huh.
And there's some pedestals over here with some shelving.
Yep.
Where you've got a beautiful gray cat. Who's that?
That's Duncan Idaho II. Have you read Dune?
I have not.
All right, so the joke is, in the Dune novels, over thousands and thousands of years, Duncan Idaho is cloned. Like tens of thousands of years. Oh. So we're always going to have a gray cat named Duncan.
Yes.
That's the joke.
Can you name all of your cats?
Yeah. So we have Oliver, who came with the house. Lucy Goose is an indoor feral that fell in love with Oliver before we moved in, while he was still outside. Duncan came with us from our apartment. He was the first cat we got together. Then we have Captain Jack, who is a domesticated feral tripod. She's missing a leg. We caught her to have the leg amputated, and the night I was going to trap her originally, she plops down and 4 kittens came squirreling out.
Oh my God.
So we had to wait. Then we trapped her. We took in the kittens. My wife swore they would be adopted out. They were named Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Spy. Taylor got adopted out and became Carl. We started calling Soldier Tubby. And then when Jack had her surgery, the vet was like, no, you can't re-release her. She only has 3 legs. And we were like, again? And that's why I built the catio, because Captain Jack had to recover somewhere.
Yes.
So then we have Jack, Tinker, Spy, Tubby. And then we also have Baby Bear, who is like a black, fluffy gremlin. She's just the dumbest cat. She's an idiot. Just totally fucking stupid. I love her. And then we have Bree, who, are you familiar with Trap Neuter Release, Tony?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Are you familiar with Trap Neuter Release? Or TNR?
Trap Neuter Release.
So,
no.
Real quick biology lesson.
Uh-huh.
There's wild cats here. There's wild cats here because there's an ecosystem that supports the cats.
Yes.
If you go around killing cats or capturing them and taking them away, you have not solved for that ecosystem. So it incentivizes breeding, right?
Oh.
So the trick is to leave the cat level in your community at the same level. So you trap the cats, you take them to the TNR place, they scoop out their baby-making bits,
Yep.
and then you re-release them.
How much do they charge you for the scooping?
They don't.
Perfect price.
Fixed Nation in Los Angeles, and they'll train you, and you can even borrow their traps.
Oh, train you to trap.
Yeah.
Not to scoop.
No. No, although honestly, I could figure it out. You can watch any surgery on YouTube, so.
I would rather not, thank you.
But yeah, and so Bree was supposed to be a TNR, and the same night I trapped her, she gave birth to 7 kittens.
Oh my God.
We adopted out 6 of them.
Good.
She had eaten the other.
No!
Yes.
Bree!
She ate Momo.
Do cats do this?
Yes, they do. So if the cat is sick, if they think it won't live, if they just don't like it, and it's funny.
Oh, if the kitten is sick.
Yeah, we had all these cute videos of Bree sneaking, like picking up this cat and escaping the cage to take her under the office table. And we're like, "You're so silly! No, put the cat back in." She was trying to bring it somewhere to suffocate it, and so my wife reached into like the cat bed to take Momo out, and only the head was there.
Oh my God!
She ate everything else, Tony.
TV Ben, this is the grossest episode already, and we're 7 minutes in.
Rotten.com. And Bree is an office gremlin. She lives in the home office for the most time, but super snuggly.
Okay, so you've all these cats.
Yep.
Your house is spotless.
Thank you.
Like, do you, like...
There's 1 litter box inside, and then 3 robot litter boxes, and another plain litter on the catio.
I'm in the right place.
Yeah.
I just bought a robot litter box.
Is it the litter robot? Like, is it like the big dome, or is it like
It's a big dome.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's that.
It's going to change your life.
Well, I don't know, because I can't... I need to play with the app a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's not accepting the box
That's
downstairs.
annoying. See, we haven't bought the ones with the Wi-Fi. So ours, I just go out and change them. But basically, I do litter boxes once a week.
That's it?
Yeah.
For how many cats?
9.
That's the dream.
Yeah, and 3 of them are drawers. So just pull the thing, take the bag, replace the bag. And then I have 1 I have to scoop because a couple of the cats will not use the robot box.
Okay. Were you a cat lover before all this?
No. So when I was between jobs, this is in my 20s. I had this girlfriend that I dated multiple times. And honestly, Tony, we just like could not keep our hands off each other. We were done, but we could not keep our hands off each other.
Right.
She was petrified of cats. So I was like, fuck it, I'm getting a cat. So I stopped making this mistake. So I went to Sentinel feed store. I was like, give me the ugliest cat no one wants.
This is in West LA?
That was, yeah, because I was living in Koreatown at the time.
Ah, okay.
Right, and so they introduced me to this black and white cat who had a broken jaw and crossed eyes. He had lived in Beverly Hills where the neighbors were feeding him oysters. I'm not fucking kidding you. And then he got hit by a car, and they're like, oh, we don't want to keep the cat. And so the jaw healed crooked, and that was Marvin Harrison. I loved him.
You're a football fan?
Oh, yeah. Big Colts fan. That was Marvin Harrison. And Marvin we had to put down a few years ago. He did come with us to this house.
Yeah. Okay, so that cat turned into 9, or did your wife love cats?
It was a marital decision that I could fight the cat thing and we would still have cats, or I could be like, this is great. Now I get to play with my tools and build a catio.
Because your wife came with a whole bunch of cats?
No, just like when we found them, she wanted to bring them in.
Right.
So it was like I would have left Oliver outside, but he was so sweet. We had my father-in-law redid all the we redid like all the woodwork in here, and we had piles of it on the porch. Where what is now the catio, and Oliver would like sleep on the junk pile.
Is your dad a contractor?
Father-in-law.
Father-in-law?
Used to be. So he Pops is a trained finishing wood carpenter, and what he does is he cuts the knives that they use to run off crown molding and baseboard.
Wow.
So it's like a very specialized trade.
Wow. I do see both crown molding and baseboards here.
Yeah, and we did the kitchen. All the kitchen cabinets are Pops.
Wow.
Same cabinets he built for Billy Joel.
Excuse me?
Yeah, because it's like a downtown LA, custom cabinet. He does like big ornate fireplaces and stuff.
But wait. The Piano Man has a house in LA?
Or maybe he did like 15 years ago. I don't know. They have not changed how they make these like press board cabinets in 30 years.
Okay, behind you, I see a glorious illustration painting of our current president and vice president.
Yes.
Above that, a smaller picture of the Obamas and their 2 dogs.
Yes.
You just love these Democratic leaders?
Well, I do, but so when the fascist in chief took power and took the White House, our daughter was like a year and a half, and we were just despondent. And I could go on at length about things that Obama got wrong or didn't do right.
Yeah.
But they were a White House family that had children and loved animals.
That's right.
And it's so funny. Like you look at like Ron DeSantis, and he's like, these people do not know how to stand up or sit down or behave like humans.
It's really strange. Well, okay.
But point being, so we put that up so our children had something that was like,
There
look,
you go.
Kindness and love can get power too.
Excellent lesson.
And then I am a hardcore Kamala Harris stan, actually. Biden was like my 16th preference.
Why is she getting so much negativity?
Well, oh man, do we want to go into this? So yeah, that's a good question. My answer is that Kamala Harris announced her presidential campaign, and 18,000 people, mostly black, showed up in Oakland for the event.
Yeah.
And then, a certain neck-bearded contingent didn't like that progressivism might also work hand in hand with a functioning government. And they dug up some, I would call it disinformation. Maybe it's misinformation. Maybe they were misinformed. I think it was kind of a deliberate smear.
Yeah.
And she's not perfect. No one is.
Right.
But I think you talk about like if politics is the art of the possible, right? I'm very interested in what's the maximum possible harm reduction. Right. Like I'm very cynical that, this is a country like, look, our origin story is slavery and the Civil War.
That's right.
Right. And so for me, this idea that you're going to get all these poor racist white people to stand in solidarity with everyone else, they'll never do it.
Right.
They will cut their dicks off before they do it. And so the Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, politics of what's possible is very much my bag. My dad's family in Indianapolis was very involved in local politics with the Democratic Party.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Okay. Let's Tell me a little bit about your kids. How many kids you got?
I got 2 kids. I got Delaney and TK. My daughter is almost 8. She is a self-identified rainbow goth.
She's 8 years old.
Yes.
What is a rainbow goth?
Well, it's like, she likes spooky gothy shit, but she also likes rainbow vomiting unicorns. So it's kind of a mix. Actually, like Blackpink would be like, I would call that rainbow goth. Oh. It's very glossy and feminine, but also has a very kind of like, spooky shredded skirt vibe, I guess.
Did you guys as a family watch Blackpink on YouTube?
My wife watched it. I actually got my wife tickets for Mother's Day at Dodger Stadium, so.
You are the hero.
Yeah. So her and Delaney are going to go to that, and then I'm going to take the boy, who's almost 5, to Monster Jam.
Hell yeah.
He would like Blackpink, but he's just a little too young.
Who's playing at Monster Jam?
Oh, no, Monster Jam like the monster trucks.
Oh, at like Anaheim Stadium?
Yeah, have you ever been?
I wanted to.
It's fun. It is exactly what it looks like. It's dirt cheap. Right?
Oh, good.
Like, you can get in for like $20.
Uh-huh.
They have these insane pregame things. Like, they do like races where the beat up Chevys have to pull an abandoned tractor trailer or something, and they're like fishtail. It's really fun.
Let's talk a little bit about North Hollywood.
Yeah.
Which is where we're at. I was trying to explain North Hollywood to my mom, and I was trying to say that it's a great place for a lot of people who are new to California or new to LA to land, because it's usually kind of inexpensive here. It's central to a lot of things. It's not too deep into the valley. And she was like, "It's in the valley?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "But it's called Hollywood. Hollywood isn't." I was like, "Don't get fooled by the name." How would you explain North Hollywood?
Man, when I go back to Indiana, they're like, "All right, North Hollywood." I'm like, guys, it's not. So what I like about North Hollywood is it's very analogous to like a Midwestern first suburb, which now we think of as like the city, right? So I grew up in Indianapolis on what's called the near north side, that for all intents and purposes is the city. But when my grandparents were young adults, it was like the suburb, right? And so what I love about North Hollywood is it's got a really... So if you looked at an old map of the valley, this was like agriculture central, right? And so there's a very old, Latino history here. And then it currently has a large Armenian population. And actually, interestingly, in my daughter's school, we're getting a huge influx of Ukrainian immigrants right now.
Oh, I bet.
But then you also get a bunch of, spoiled industry kids like me, because like you said, it's affordable.
Right.
And so you get a really great mix of things. We are in North Hollywood, but it's really like where we are is almost like culturally Van Nuys. Mm-hmm. This is not like Lankershim Boulevard, Tikino, kind of North Hollywood. This is like you go up to Sherman Way and there's industrial parks. But I have this cool little ranch neighborhood street. So our house was built in 1955. There are 9 houses with the exact same floor plan down the street.
Oh, wow.
All built between like 53 and 56. The only difference is because we're in the larger corner lot, we have this extra office room. But it's cool, and like they've done open houses, and you walk through them, and if you can kind of see, if the neighbors, if the listeners can imagine, we have this like T-beam up here. Uh-huh. So traditionally, there's a half wall going between. Some people made it planters, someone made an aquarium. We knocked it out, but it's cool because they've all. It's real, like, if you ever watched Mad Men when, like, Don Draper goes out to California.
Yeah.
This is like that post-war wealth California dream kind of home.
Yes.
Old bones.
And I see these beautiful rose bushes, both pink and yellow roses. Uh-huh. Who's the gardener?
My mother-in-law, my Win. Uh-huh. So that's funny that you mentioned that. My mother-in-law basically, when we bought the house, just started planting things. There's no discussion about, like, would you like this here? So I have these giant agave that I've been digging out by myself that, take days to remove.
Yeah.
We have roses. I grow dragon fruit up in the front. I think you saw the dragon fruit cactus.
Yeah.
I have passion fruit. I have an orange tree, a lemon tree. And do you know what longan is? Longan is like tiny lychee fruit. So if you've seen like the Asian lychee fruit, but it's more like the size of a nickel.
Right.
And it's absolutely delicious.
You also had an old man who was... I don't know if he was threatening me.
This fella is interesting. This guy obviously retiree. All he does is walk in circles all day. And what he does, Tony, is he stops at our rosemary bush and he'll break off a branch and rub it up and down his arms like it puts the lotion on the skin. And I don't know why he does this.
Yeah.
It definitely feels creepy. He
Right.
seems polite. But yeah, no, and it's cool.
Yeah, I think he told me, that's mine. And he was pointing at my car. And I was like, well, it needs new tires.
So some of the owners of these homes down on the street are like the second owners. Mm-hmm. Like the people who've lived on this street have lived here a long time.
Yeah.
And I think he's one of those families.
And do people get along in this neighborhood?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the flip side is we are 1 block away from the borderline between MS-13 and the Logos.
Oh.
So-
and which do you rep?
No, but so Valley Plaza Park, which is 3 doors down, is where like 3 years ago, I don't even remember, MS-13 just like butchered a homeless guy.
Oh, I didn't know about this.
But it's funny because like you can track it because you can see the tagging at the park swing back and forth. Right. So, like anywhere in Los Angeles, there's that, but the neighborhood's cool. There's a really cool park down the street, and you go down there, and there's like 5 languages being spoken. And yeah, I love it. I love the Valley.
Where do you do your grocery shopping?
Okay, so we are a Costco family.
Is there a Costco nearby?
I'm equidistant from Van Nuys and Burbank, so it depends on what other errands I'm running that day. And then we go down to Smart and Final.
Yep.
On Laurel Canyon for things like cereal, because Costco options are limited.
What cereal do the kids eat if you're eating all the adult cereal?
Cheerios.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, and here's is this Indiana?
That is.
It is.
Yeah.
You've got Indiana, what do you call these? Coasters.
Yeah. Well, if you are from Indiana and you live in Los Angeles, all your family members just want you to never forget Indiana. And like the kids get like, I love Indiana t-shirts. And
Okay, now part of this podcast is to dispel the myths of LA. That one of them is everybody's in the movie or TV industry.
Sure.
You actually are.
Yep.
You mentioned that your credits include BattleBots and Shark Tank. What'd you do for those shows?
Well, can I actually go backward for a minute? Yeah. So I moved out in 2005. I'm of that age. I don't know if you've noticed this, Tony, but I happen to be a white guy.
Then you're off the show.
I'm a cliche. I read Rebel Without a Crew by Robert Rodriguez. I read the Lloyd Kaufman book about trauma. I read Stephen King's On Writing. I read the 2 William Goldman books. And so obviously my friends and I packed out here. We figured by 25 we'd be directing X-Men movies or something.
Hell yeah.
And so I was going to come out. Actually, if I can go back even.
What about The Cat and the Typewriter?
Oh, Save the Cat. I've read Save the Cat. It's cute. But no, so I was very involved from my freshman year of college in the local improv troupe, which sounds silly, but in Muncie, Indiana, there's nothing else to do. And we would sell out like the 450-person auditorium regularly.
Right on.
And then improv drama happened, and I was like, was I tossed out or did I quit? Hard to say.
Did you enjoy being the talent?
Oh, there's nothing I love more than hearing my own voice and seeing myself on screen. Absolutely.
Well, where's your podcast then?
I don't know. That's a good question. No, so but basically, I was very depressed, and my friend Dave was like, "Hey, come hold boom mic in my short film."
Nice.
This is my junior year.
Yeah.
And that's how I got into that. And so we were ready to come out, and so I grew up. Both my parents were alcoholic, and my dad. They both cleaned up by the time they were 5, but my dad had fallen back off the wagon in high school, and right before I was like thinking about moving out, I got a call. I'll never forget. I was standing at the Borders bookstore at Clearwater in Indianapolis, and my dad's like, "Ben, I checked myself into the hospital. Find me a book in a bag." Or no, he said, like, "Pack me some underwear and shorts, a toothbrush, and try to sneak some books in the bag."
Sneak? They didn't want people
No,
reading?
those rehab. Some of these rehab facilities are real interesting. Like you go there to clean toilets, and it's kind of like they bring you down to like a very low level, right?
Yeah.
Not in like a negative way, but like. You start at the beginning and you build yourself back up.
They want you to hit rock bottom.
Yeah. And so if my sister was the one who like avoided dad because he had a drinking problem, I was the one that felt responsible and had to care for him. So I'd had this girlfriend that I had told, we got to be done in the summer. And then I was like, no, I'm staying. Maybe I'll go to IUPUI. Maybe I'll learn about video games. And then 2 months later, I was like, fuck Indiana. I'm going to California. And drove out to Ohio. It was like taking Old Yeller out to the back. I was like, hey, I'm going to go. Oh, well, 3 more years of Ball State and I can come out. I was like, no, I don't think that's what I'm saying. And it was raining when I left and dropped her off, and she went crying to her dad. It was a whole thing. Anyway, so I came out to LA with my friends. 2005, we got new construction apartment on Wilcox, just north of Melrose. 3 bedrooms, $2,000 a month.
Woo-hoo!
We split it 5 ways. So I was making, and I had no job. I had $5,000. I did the next week, I got one of those jobs for Environment California, which is those people that used to come up to you and say, hey, do you have a moment for the environment?
Yes.
And then there was a whole class action lawsuit about them. I'm terrible at sales, and they fired me after 3 days. So I reached out to the few Ball State people I knew out here, and one of them was a production coordinator at Entertainment Tonight. And she's like, hey, we're launching a new show. Come be a PA. So I was a production assistant at the near launch of The Insider with Pat O'Brien.
How about that?
Yeah.
Which lot was that at?
Paramount.
Oh,
down
cool.
the street. I could have walked to work if I didn't have to drive to pick up donuts and groceries and run errands.
Wow.
And so we made an hour of television before noon every day. Entertainment Tonight and The Insider. And there's 3 feeds, okay, Tony? So the noon version goes out to like Muncie, Indiana, Armpit, Alabama, all the small markets. The 1 o'clock, and then we clean it up. We update the news. So the first version, the only red carpet I could find of Brad Pitt was from 5 years ago, and that's the one they're using.
Yeah.
But then, someone screams at me, is like, he was at fucking whatever Fight Club, or, go get the other thing. And so then that's in the 1 o'clock, and then there's a 2:30 version that was really LA and New York. That was basically like, haha, Access Hollywood, look how pretty we are.
Right.
Do you know the story of Access Hollywood?
No.
Rewind. Okay, real quick. Entertainment Tonight is the only news magazine that matters. And then Linda Bell...
Mary Hart's
Hart.
Beautiful Legs?
Yes. And the executive producer, Linda Bell Blue, her, number 2 left to form Access Hollywood and poached a bunch of people.
Oh.
So when she launched The Insider, which was supposed to be DVD extras for Hollywood, it ended up just being tabloid trash.
Right.
She not only took her producers back, she took Pat O'Brien from Access. And I'm telling you, man, when I got there, the first day, they're like, when you're at work and there's other outlets, you don't fucking talk to Access Hollywood. They're slime. We don't interact with them. Go work for them if you want to. But this, it was hardcore.
Huge rivalry.
It was Crips and Bloods from the red carpet. So, anyway, so I was in the tape vault. And so basically what happened is Entertainment Tonight had the largest Betamax library of red carpet footage going back to the 80s. And so we would do a story, and it was my job to go look up on the computer, right? It was a 4x3 screen, go across the street to the tape vault to find out the tapes were missing, go upstairs to the Entertainment Tonight editors who were like, you're a new show, and I've been working here for 15 years. Fuck off, you're not getting my tape. So now I would go back to my producer and be like, they were mean to me. And they were like, fuck you, go get it. So then I would be like, hey, I brought you a Coke. And then while they were looking, I would just snack it out of their bin and run across the street. Anyway, I almost killed Dr. Phil's dog. He was walking it.
I wish you had.
I do too. No, but it was really cool. It was a really great experience because, when you make an hour of television before noon, you don't have time to argue about how other people are doing their job. They don't have time to tell you how to do your job. Just go figure it out. And
But also, you got to see Hollywood as it truly is.
Oh, dude. So I started The Insider, and the 3rd day, they're like, hey, we need a PA. Go to the Aviator premiere. Ooh. And, I'd only been out in L.A. for two weeks or something. And then, there's Martin Scorsese. I'm looking down at him. And then I can't talk for an hour because Kate Beckinsale has launched out. And I tell you, Kate Beckinsale at the Aviator, I'll never forget, is the most stunning alien creature I have ever seen.
Was this at Chinese?
It was. And then, I got to go to the after party because hey kid, you're done.
Wow.
we don't need to satellite feed these tapes. We don't need to run them back. Go hang out. Yeah, and John C. Reilly bumped into me, and I'm a 22-year-old idiot. This is the coolest thing to ever happen.
Yes.
And so I'm at ET, and then I'd been there for a while, $7 an hour. Okay, so the tape vault would come in between 5 and 6:30. It was staggered. We would get out. We would huff it to Barney's Beanery, close the bar at 2.
Which Barney's was this?
WeHo.
Okay.
So we would close Barney's, go home and sleep for 2 hours, come back and go look for Brangelina videos, explicitly still drunk.
Where would you look for these at?
In the tape vault. I'm just saying, the PAs, it it was like rock and roll, man. It was
Yeah.
stupid. I can't believe we got away with it.
Right.
But anyway, so then the news guy at the news desk was really cool.
Well, hold on though.
Yeah, sure.
2006, 2007.
Yeah,
I know this era very well because I was doing LAist then.
that's right.
And so
I was reading you.
this is the era of Paris Hilton, Lindsay
Yes.
Lohan. Who was the third one? Who was a little bit? Britney. Britney was a bit of a mess.
Yep.
So was that always in your rotation
No.
at the Insider?
Oh,
You
at the Insider, yeah, almost right away, because very quickly we found out, like, oh, we want ratings.
Yeah.
You know, so then it became like the Insider will do the stories that ET doesn't want to soil itself with.
Right.
But it was the same news desk.
Right.
One news desk filtering down to 2 shows.
Which is it CBS?
It was at the time, yeah.
Okay.
Like Les Moonves came in once.
And CBS, the Tiffany Network, didn't care that they had this like trash gossip show?
Well, so, you know, it was interesting because later when I got promoted, I was the assistant to 2 producers. One, we did all the music stories, and the other was assigned to 2 of the movie studios. And that's a really interesting question because what people don't realize is there's a lot of horse trading involved. So it's like, okay, sure, you can have Tom Cruise for Mission Impossible, but you're going to make it 1:30 in the A block. And even though your viewers don't care, you're going to run a story on Fast and Furious 2. At least 45 seconds. It can be in the C block. And that's how we would do the trade, right?
And they wanted Fast and Furious because that was the same production company?
Well,
As-
that's a
as
bad
Mission
example
Impossible?
because I guess Mission Impossible wasn't Universal. But yeah.
But the example
Yeah,
is...
they would like, you want the dessert? Well, you're going to run something that's not good for your show, but we need promo.
Right.
And then what would happen is those like things that they didn't want to do, but we were obligated to do.
Yeah.
Then the assistants would write the junket questions, and sometimes we would even conduct the junkets.
Oh.
Or like, for example, Fast Furious 2, they did a whole event in Long Beach, like a drift racing thing.
Yeah.
ET doesn't give a fuck about drift racing.
Right.
But they want to scratch the back of the publicist, so they sent me.
E.T. didn't care because their demo was more women?
Correct.
Okay. Did you ever do any of these junkets?
Yes, I did. My very first junket was Accepted. Do you remember Accepted?
The
College movie.
Jason...
Justin Long.
Justin Long.
Yeah. So my very first junket interview was Lewis Black. And I am like...
Fun.
Yeah, but I'm like so nervous I'm going to screw this up.
Well, because he's kind of a weirdo?
Yeah, and he clocked it, and he dropped the shtick. I was like, hey,
Really?
Kid. He's like, hey, kid, just ask your questions. I'll give you the answers.
That's cool.
And then, you know, I met Jonah Hill when he was like the guy in the hot dog suit. And him and Justin Long and I think Michael Cera were like sharing a house in Venice.
Wow.
And they were like my age.
Yeah.
Like, dude, like, it's so cool. Like, yeah, man, like, we're just living at the beach and trying to make our lives. And then
Was Michael Cera like...
I think so.
Was he a cool guy, though?
I don't know. He wasn't in that movie.
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
saying, like, it was like a gang of those guys.
Right.
And then the director of Accepted was the writer of High Fidelity, which is like my favorite movie. And I went up to him, was like, dude, let me shake your hand. I just want to tell you how much I love this movie. And he's a germaphobe, and I like totally like pissed him off.
Oh, no.
Good lesson. Don't touch the talent.
Right.
But anyway,
Are writers talent?
if they're on camera doing a junket, they are.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. So
But it
was cool.
Isn't that... I mean, okay, I love High Fidelity, too.
yeah, it's a great film.
Absolutely. But why the writer?
Well,
There's
they
a
would
lot of
pair him
people
with the
in that
director.
movie.
Yeah, but you know why? Because the writer and director want to do it, so they
Okay.
let them go to the junket.
Right.
And like ET.
But, like, Cusack didn't want to be there? Jack Black would
well,
have
this wasn't for High Fidelity. It was for Accepted.
Oh, I see what you're
But
saying.
I'm just saying, like, you know, you get the stars, and then, oh, you're going to interview the writer and director, and you ask questions, and,
Okay.
you know, maybe IGN.com cares or something. But
Right. So you got to be the guy on the other side of the
yeah.
camera,
And then,
asking the questions.
can I tell you when my spirit broke on celebrity stuff?
Oh, please.
Okay, so my boss, Clay Smith, had been at Entertainment Tonight originally since like the second year, and then he had gone to Access, and he was the music guy. Madonna, Lionel Richie, da-da-da. And so we had Brian Wilson. Brian Wilson's going to come in. He's going to talk to Pat O'Brien. He's going to talk about the drugs. He's going to talk about his brother dying. He's going to talk about the guru. He's going to lay it all out.
Yeah.
And this was like years in the making for Clay to get this.
2006, 2007, we're still talking?
Just to be either late 2006 or maybe early 2007.
Okay.
So his handler, Brian did drugs, a lot of them.
Yep.
He requires a handler.
Yep.
If you take my meaning. And his handler was very good at being very mean. And she'd call and she's like, now you fucking listen. This fucking limo driver's going to drop him off and you better fucking be there because Brian can't, I'm not going with him. And he's not going to find you. So fucking be there. 10 fucking a.m. click. And so I'm sitting there at 10 a.m. not getting a buzz from the gate.
By the way, this is Hollywood.
Yeah.
This is real Hollywood. Muncie, Indiana don't know nothing about this Hollywood.
No. And I wasn't angry. It was just like, oh, okay. So 10 o'clock comes, no buzz at the gate.
Oh, God.
10:05, no buzz at the gate. And I'm sitting here like, hi. My phone rings. Where the fuck are you? He's been there like 20 fucking 5 minutes. Well, the limo driver dropped him off at the loading door.
Oh.
And so I go running, looking for Brian Wilson, who was lost in the Paramount a lot. And, he has reverted to his most primal instincts and has found food. And I find him, I'll never forget this. He's standing there looking at the ceiling, and he has 3 red vines hanging out of his mouth. And he looks down and is like, oh, hi, are you ready to do your interview? And I'm like, well, Mr. Wilson, your friend Pat O'Brien's doing the interview. It's not me. He's like, oh, okay. And so you would think he's like a space cadet, right, Tony? And we sit him down, and I'm just like, oh, God, this is going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
The second the red light on the camera comes on, he comes alive.
Wow.
And the Brian Wilson that was always there is back. And I'm sure it's the same in the studio.
Wow.
Right? It's like whatever person was lost and whatever happened, he knew everything. And the interview's amazing. This shit is blockbuster for your music fans. I mean, I have Pet Sounds on my wall.
Of course.
And we had promised like 3 days in the A block. And then that night, Anna Nicole Smith died. And our bosses were like, yeah, I know you made that promise, but we're just going to torch your decades-long relationship because Anna Nicole Smith died.
Well, and they've got to understand that, right?
Yeah, maybe, but it was just one of those things like, okay, I knew we were like in the celebrity shit, but I was doing some cool music stuff. I was writing movie junkets, and this where I was like, I cannot do the celebrity thing. So I got out of ET.
Well, how about stop making promises to people? Because you never know.
That's true. I missed the biggest part, though. Before that had happened.
Yeah.
When I was still PA, I'm hanging around the news desk, and they're like, oh, shit, Michael Jackson's trial is going on. And we just got some bad news for news outlets. The city of Santa Maria had never had a mega trial before, anything like this. They had no infrastructure for this. So they hired a media coordinator, and he did a very smart thing. He said, here's the deal. If you want to cover the Michael Jackson trial, you can get credentialed, but you will cover the trial every day. You need to be present every day. Because what they didn't want is 1,000 outlets descending on Macaulay Culkin Day.
Right.
So my job was to attend the trial every day for Entertainment Tonight as a PA.
Okay, so you're still living on Melrose.
Yeah, yes.
Santa Maria, how long of a drive is that?
2.5, 3 hours?
Every day? Did they put you up there?
Not at first.
Ah.
So at first, so they're sending me there every day. I mean, my job is literally to seat warm in the courtroom. I was as far away from Michael Jackson every day for the whole trial as I am from you right now.
Which is close.
Very close. And I was driving.
Okay, hold on a second,
Yeah.
Ben.
Yeah.
How was his makeup?
It was hard to say because his hair was so brushed in front of his face, but it looked like a Steve Winston creation, to be honest.
Who's Steve Winston?
Oh, like one of the most famous Hollywood makeup guys, like effects guys. It looked like a face had been applied to his face.
So it looked weird.
It did, for sure.
Are you a Michael Jackson fan?
I am a Michael Jackson fan.
Were you before?
Like Thriller was my first record when I was 3.
How about that? So were you kind of freaking out a little bit? That
Yeah,
you're this
well, and also
close?
my dad was a criminal defense attorney, and he was the kind of dad that like talked about work at the table. So I was interested in this
fun.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
Like, I like courtrooms. It's
Right.
fun for me.
Did you think that it was probable that he was guilty?
Not at that time, but it was a very different time. I think there's been a lot more testimony about.
Why did you feel that way back then?
I just think there was a skepticism towards there was a built-in skepticism towards any kind of allegation about everything. I think at the time, people had this notion that individuals should have the same standard of a court.
Yes.
Right. And that, I haven't seen the evidence, and obviously they're out to get. I mean, did you see the Leave Me Alone video? He told you they're coming after him. And no, not initially. I didn't. And
Now he has settled with some of these
yes,
alleged victims.
But lots of people, I mean, like prosecutors make people settle by going to prison when they didn't do anything wrong just to avoid the risk, right? Like, what's a settlement?
You know, that's a good. I don't want to say excuse, but that's a good reply to that, because sometimes if you are Michael Jackson about to go on tour and somebody says something crazy, and you have a gazillion dollars, just give them a little bit and go back to work,
Are you
right?
familiar with expected value? Do you play poker?
I do not.
Okay, so expected value is a metric that is a function between how much you stand to gain, how much you stand to lose, and what it costs to play.
Okay.
Right. So if you stand to gain very little and you stand to lose a lot, and it's a big bet, that's a bad expected value.
Right.
Right. You can think about anything like this. So the expected value of settling is almost always correct, whether it's a prosecutor in a criminal charge or it's a settlement versus like a very real allegation.
Because it just goes away, and we don't even remember these people that they settled with.
Yes.
We only remember the people that they went to trial with.
Yeah. So, but the Jackson trial was really interesting because what I got to see is, well, okay, so Judge Melville liked to golf every day. So court ended at 2:30. Okay? So ET would have me drive up. I'd leave at 4:30 in the morning. I'd be home for dinner, and I'd do it again. And they weren't paying my mileage.
What?
And then when the news desk guy found out, he went upstairs and chewed them out.
Good.
And I got the back pay, and they put me in the worst motel. Like, meth dudes were banging on the door because they thought it was their room. You know, like, it was bad. But it was great. You know, I was 23. I didn't care.
Right.
I was attending Michael Jackson trial with, like, major media figures.
Yeah.
And so I would go into the trial. I took copious notes. I have a box of notes somewhere. And then I would watch the coverage, and it was fascinating to see what was different.
Yeah.
Right. And so the first thing I would say is, you know, at that time, Nancy Grace was on, and Nancy Grace was driving the coverage. Remember Nancy Grace?
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
Was she Nancy Grace
mean,
of today back then?
Yeah, and she didn't go. She had Diane Diamond attending for her. And I mean, this was like you know, if you wanted like an hour-long true crime Karen TV show as Nancy Grace.
That's right.
Let me speak to the manager about this thing that I know nothing about.
Exactly.
And so, but basically, you know, Diane Diamond would not report the reasonable doubt.
Oh.
Right. She would report what the prosecutor asserted.
Yes.
And Michael's attorney, Thomas Mesereau, was like an Oxford boxer. He has this huge silver mane, the most charismatic guy you'll ever meet. And there's tons of reasonable doubt, Tony. And what I would tell you about the Michael Jackson trial is that when you have the power and money of Michael Jackson, and if kids listening don't know this, after world leaders, he was the most powerful person in the world.
Sure.
There were 3 generations for various reasons. Like, he was the soundtrack. He invented the Super Bowl halftime show, right? And so when you have that kind of gravity well of power, it distorts everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Nobody knows Michael Jackson in this time that isn't a compromised witness by virtue of having been in the presence of his power. Now, and so if you were his handlers, obviously you had an interest. Blanca Francia, the maid, said that she saw Jimmy Safechuck molested. Well, she took $20K to get that story. She may have taken $20K to tell the truth, but you can't know, right? Right. These kids were proven scammers.
So did the maid said that it happened, but she admitted that she never saw it?
Well, no. She said she saw it, but she said it to the National Enquirer. They gave her 20 large.
Right.
And so,
how should she have done it?
I think she should have taken the $20K. I'm not making an ethical argument about it,
Right.
but what I'm saying is there's a compromise there, right?
But do you believe her?
Blanca Francia, so that's interesting. The Leaving Neverland guys, Jimmy Safechuck and Wade Robeson. What I will tell you is their testimony that he did not abuse them in the courtroom, and for that one I was in the actual room, seemed very credible at the time. Now, I'm operating on 15-year-old memory here.
Right.
It was hard for me to watch the show and be like, now I know these guys are telling the truth.
Right.
Because they were, Wade in particular was emphatic. But again, everything in the Jackson trial was like, I could tell you the story of Wade who sold the story because he needed attention again. I could tell you the story of Wade who, still as a victim, was in love with Michael Jackson and took the bullet on the stand and then goes on HBO because he finally doesn't want to be in love with Michael Jackson anymore and he wants to know. That's very compelling to me.
Yeah.
So I'm on the fence about those guys. The interesting one is the 93 case, Jordy Chandler, because, again, compromise. His dad blackmailed Michael Jackson, said, get my screenplay sold or I'm going to tell everybody. his mother accepted a diamond necklace. And the story of Jordy Chandler is they're on tour with him, and Michael wants Jordy to sleep in the room. And June Chandler is like, no, I don't think so, Michael. And he bullies her, and she acquiesces. And that's allegedly the night it first happened. And Jordy doesn't talk to mom anymore. He moved to like Germany or something. So does he not talk to mom because she sold him down the river to Michael Jackson?
Right.
Or does she not talk to mom because she launched a civil complaint that was unfactual? I can't tell you. Nobody knows. Because the gravity well of Michael Jackson is so powerful. The jurors, the media, no one can know except the people that were there. Mm-hmm. And a court system built on reasonable doubt is not built to manage that gravity well.
Right.
Right. And so
reasonable doubt is it's the get out of jail card, right?
yeah, I mean, what I would tell you is the jury reached the correct verdict, and that the mother and the accusing boys were proven a half dozen way to be liars on the stand. That does not mean Michael Jackson did not abuse Gavin Arvizo. But here's the other crazy thing, real quick. I'm sorry, I know you probably want to move on.
No, this is great.
So the timeline that the prosecutor asserted is that Gavin Arvizo has cancer. Okay. Chris Tucker goes to visit him. The kid's like, I got one wish, Mr. Tucker. And he's like, what is it, kid? Anything you want. And he's like, I want to meet Michael Jackson. What do you know? Chris Tucker knows Michael Jackson.
That's right.
I can do that for you, kid. He introduces him. The kid goes to Neverland when Martin Bashir films the Leaving Neverland documentary.
Yep.
The documentary intimates that Michael it has a sexual relationship with these boys.
Yeah.
The documentary airs. Everyone is panicking. Michael starts doing a PR thing about how this is not bad. And then the molestation happens. The prosecution says that when everyone is looking at Michael Jackson is the day he decides to do it. It could be, but that's a tough sell.
Yeah.
And you can't send someone to prison on that. You just can't.
Yeah.
And the truth is, I think Michael Jackson probably had sexual relations with children, which is rape. But I couldn't, as the jury, make that call based on the evidence provided.
What happened the Macaulay Culkin day?
He was very boring.
It
was great. So it's funny.
Boring because he always said Michael never did anything to him.
Yeah, and
did Macaulay really write on the wall, "Thanks for not molesting me"?
I don't remember that.
Do you remember? Have you heard this before?
No, I haven't heard that one.
Oh, okay.
I tell you, the crazy day was Chris Tucker, because the prosecutor, Tom Sneddon, if you can imagine, like the typical Fox News viewer, that's Tom Sneddon. He could not understand Chris Tucker's accent. And I really remember, he's like, so how would you describe Gavin when you met him? He's like, he was cunning. He was cunning. And he didn't understand he was saying cunning.
Yeah.
And he made him say it like 20 times. And poor fucking Chris Tucker was just like, could not believe he was dragged to this courtroom to have this like racist encounter with this old man. But these kids stole George Lopez's wallet out of his home.
Really?
Yeah. Because it was from the same Comedy Factory thing, right? And then the big thing was the mother alleged that they weren't allowed to know what time it was, right? Because they were being held captive. And on cross, they asked the boy, it's like, so what would you do? And Gavin's like, oh, we'd like ride the golf carts. Why would you ride the golf carts? Oh, to the telescope. That's cool. What's at the telescope? Oh, we'd look at the flower clock. And he throws his hand on his mouth because he let slip. There's a clock. Now, again, it might be that he was abused and his mother said, sell this kidnapping story.
Yes.
But she had trained them. There was an incident where she trained them to fake an assault by a Kohl's security officer so she could sue. Right. And again, that's the perfect victim. Anyway.
And it also sounds like this is the type of people you don't settle with.
No. And so again, like what wasn't reported and the disservice of the media was that they didn't report how much reasonable doubt was laid out. So the public was shocked when the not guilty verdict came.
Well, but they weren't the only journalists there.
No, but it was still the narrative on most things.
It was the most watched.
I don't know about that.
Versions
but
of
it was like CNN and Nancy Grace and Fox. And by the way, I have nothing nice to say about Fox News, but there was a writer named Roger Friedman who wrote for the Fox website. Roger wrote the best coverage of anybody. And he continued to write, because you talk about the gravity well power, the power of the gravity well and the reality distorting thing. The most interesting thing about Michael Jackson is the Beatles catalog, the My Jack catalog, and
My Jack?
My Jack was the name of the catalog of his music.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Leveraged against a major loan for Fortress that was coming due. This is Donald Trump Deutsche Bank, almost exactly the same thing. No one has done the documentary on this because the financial strain that Michael Jackson was under when these accusers came forward was immense. And I can't remember all the specifics, but
Financial strain because he buys too much crap?
No, yeah, exactly. So he had this huge music catalog that he had leveraged to get like a $40 million loan from Fortress.
Yeah.
And he had no stream of income. And that's why he was doing the Is This It tour. He had to make money. You know?
He wasn't getting money off of his catalog?
I'm sure he was, but he was also closing down Toys R Us to go on shopping sprees. And he lived in a theme park. An actual theme park. It needed like 17 people to keep Neverland running or something, you know?
Really?
But yeah, so it was...
So are you saying that he didn't want to go on tour, but he had to?
No, I mean, there's video clips from the time. He said, like, 50 dates will kill me. Because he knew. And by the way, at that time and during the trial, there'd be a trial break for lunch at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And, Michael would come in for the day and be very spry. He would talk to his lawyers. He would go to the room upstairs at lunch, and he would come down a zombie. There's no question they were shooting him up with whatever painkillers or sedatives. Like, the drug issue was there during the trial.
He took the stand for this, right?
No.
He didn't take the stand.
No.
I just saw so many pictures of him coming in and out that I just assumed that...
No, and they had like an entourage walk they did every day.
Okay.
And I should
Did he seem healthy when he walked in and out?
Absolutely not. No. I mean, it was kind of like if you have like an uncle who worked in a factory all the time and now they can't walk, his back was very stiff. And, if anything, I'm sure like the pain meds were so he could dance, right?
Oh.
It's like when you shoot up like the football player with cortisol so they can work the knee for a couple hours.
Right. And then they're back in pain.
Yeah. And I should say, I never saw Michael Jackson use drugs, by the way. But I'm just saying you can see his demeanor change.
Right. And I assume that you've seen This Is It.
Yes.
Great movie.
Yeah.
He seemed like he was dancing great in this movie.
Yep.
But you're saying you're assuming that that's temporary because of how he was walking.
I'm sure. Again, I'm not an expert on this, but some combination of painkillers, amphetamines, whatever it is, just like football players, he could perform for the period he had to.
Right. How long did this trial go on?
Like 4 months, 3 months, maybe.
So for 3 months you were in San Maria.
Yeah, 5 days a week. It was great.
What did you do for fun?
Went to the dunes. Like nothing, because none of the reporters were my age, and I was very awkward. I couldn't afford a haircut, so my hair hadn't been cut since the previous year, and I had this like Prince Valiant shag thing. I mean, it was weird. But yeah, no, but it was a really amazing opportunity, and someday I will write the book.
Let's go to talking about you being a producer.
Yeah.
Because as we know, producer can mean a lot of things.
Yes.
What did it mean in your case?
So I worked primarily on competition reality and game show.
Okay.
So competition reality can mean Survivor. It can mean Wipeout. It can mean Shark Tank, right?
By the way, I loved Wipeout.
Yeah, I didn't work on that, but I have friends who did. So I had a couple other jobs, and then I was out of work. I worked for Spike Jones Jr., the son of the TV band leader with like the Chainsaw Orchestra.
Okay.
So Spike owned all the rights to music, and he also produced award shows. So I worked on the Creative Arts Emmys for him for a year. And he's like, "Hey kid, I can't keep you, but my friend Clay, he has a show Shark Tank, and he aired 9 episodes. It's coming back. You can interview for this job at Sony." I'm like, I love Shark Week. So I drive onto the Sony lot.
You thought it was Shark Week?
I thought it was Shark Week.
How funny
I
is
drive
that?
onto the Sony lot. Clay and his guy, Tim Beggy, who's amazing. He was on Road Rules. Were there. And
I never liked Road Rules.
I didn't like it either. But
all right, good.
He did like it. I'm just saying he had been on reality TV.
Right.
And
He
now
knew what he was doing.
He was this development guy. About
Yeah.
10 minutes into the interview when I realized I have no idea what I'm talking about. And I bullshit my way through it. Plus, Clay is a huge Cowboys fan. His guy was a big Steelers fan. And I basically passed the lunch test with flying colors.
How?
Because I was like, we just talked about football half the time.
But you're from Indiana.
Yeah, but we have the Colts. I don't know if you know they won the Super Bowl one year against some team from some other Midwestern capital. I don't know.
Remember it at all. I think I remember the halftime show though.
Yeah. No, but no, and so I was an assistant on Shark Tank.
But what I'm saying is, you got a Cowboys fan as your boss.
Yeah.
How does being from Indiana warm him up to you?
Because he just liked that I could talk about it. Like,
I see.
I sold myself as like, yeah, I'm a guy you will spend 12 hours a day with.
Well, because that's true. Because a lot of people in entertainment don't know about sports.
No, but you just got to hang out with more editors, Tony.
Is that what I got
I
to do?
swear to God, half of them are Eagles fans. I don't get it. There's some pipeline. It's like Eagles fans in the edit bay.
Which is fine with me because those are real fans.
For sure. But yeah, so I worked on Shark Tank, and what I would say is with competition reality, what you're really doing is you're working with the contestants.
Okay, but producer, there's many types of producers,
Yes.
even on Shark Tank.
Yes.
What kind of duties on an average day were you responsible for?
Okay, yeah, sure. So real quick info dump. Shark Tank is produced by producer pairs, and I'm not telling you anything on an NDA that I wouldn't tell that isn't on Reddit. Okay. But so there's a producer and associate producer. The basic breakdown is the AP is logistics, the producer is story. Okay.
Oh.
But it actually crosses over a lot because you share an office and you work together.
Right.
So you, Tony, have a new invention, the Chicago Cubs hat that you can drink beer from.
I like it.
But the beer cans are upside down. It's novel. And so you have applied to the show.
Yeah.
You spoke to a casting producer. Then your casting tape was shown to the network and the bosses, and they said, this guy might be okay. You got assigned to me, the producer. So I'm going to talk to you on the phone for months. And I'm going to...
This is you.
Me.
Okay.
So,
producer,
yeah,
not
and-
AP.
Correct.
Okay.
But we were on the calls together.
Right.
So we get assigned, a team might get assigned like 100 people over the course of the summer, right? And some of them we cut after a phone call. Some of them we want to cut them and the bosses won't let us.
You cut them because they're boring. They're
Could be a
dead
lot of
fish.
things. It could be they're boring. It could be that we have another lemonade company we like better.
Oh.
It could be we're like, this guy seems dishonest. Because you would think dishonesty would be good for TV, but it's not good when the sharks make a deal and then they find out that you put a scammer in front of them.
Right.
Talent doesn't like that.
Yeah.
And so we would basically find out, it's like, okay, this is a big, boring tech guy, and it's not visual at all, but he's for real. And if we want $1 million investment, here's one.
By the way, who was the talent?
So the original panel was Herjavec, O'Leary, Barbara, Damon, and a guy named Kevin Harrington. Then my second season was the first time Mark Cuban was a guest shark. And then Cuban came on, and we also got Lori Grenier. And so and Harrington went away. So those were the 6.
Okay.
But yeah, no, so I talked to you, figure out what your story is. I cannot tell you what to say because we're dealing with a securities exchange on federal airwaves.
Because this is real.
SEC, FTC.
These are real
SEC.
businesses.
Yes, yeah. And so the deal on Shark Tank is a handshake deal for a very good reason. You cannot do your due diligence on a business transaction in an hour.
Right.
Right. So they're sincere handshake deals, and they truly are. And the show is very beholden by what legal will allow because, you don't want to go in front of the SEC. So It was a very authentic reality show because you weren't faking much.
Yeah.
And I would basically work with you to prepare you what you want to say to make you understand what your television experience is going to be. And my personal attitude was my first job was to protect them from the dehumanizing effect of television. That is not true of all producers.
What year was this?
I was an AP 2009, AP assistant 09, 08, 09. And then I was an AP on 10, 11, 12.
So dehumanizing because social media had started to spring up?
No, I just think that if you go on television, you are giving up. Television is a lie because you chose to start the camera and you chose to turn the camera off. And then you cut 200 more lies into it in the edit.
Right.
And that doesn't mean you're being dishonest, but they're still not true because they're edits. And, people don't understand that can air on TV forever. They can watch about half the people that would go on Shark Tank would walk out of the hallway and they wouldn't remember it. I had participants where I had to say, you got a deal. Like, what? I made a deal? Yeah, you made a deal, man, because it would black it out.
Because it was so
It's
traumatizing
intense.
to be on the show.
I don't want to say traumatizing, but you go in there and all of a sudden the lights are on.
Yeah.
These TV faces that are 50 inches on your screen are now 6 inches because they're 40 feet away.
And we say the lights, but the lights are bright as can
They're
be.
nuts.
You might not even be able to see a lot of the people.
And we talk about power, Michael Jackson. These are 6 people who live on a different planet than you. They understand money fundamentally as a different thing than you do. It can be very disorienting. And so part of it, that's boring TV if someone freaks out. So part of it was just building up their confidence. And really, for me, Tony, I love talking to people from all over the country, just like you do. And so I really fell in love with these people. And I feel like my strength was that like someone that a real LA person might write off, I'd be like, no, this guy's authentic and he has one love, and it's cheese waffles. But that's beautiful. And it's like, man, go out there and talk about cheese waffles because this is your chance. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I loved it. And so I also did the field packages, which brings me to a story I've never told before.
Oh, boy.
I should say,
Hold on. Here in LA exclusive.
no, this is an LA exclusive. And I will say, okay, have you ever seen the Donald Trump Apprentice tapes where he's dropping N-bombs left and right?
I have not.
Neither have I.
Ah.
Do you know why you haven't seen those?
Why?
A 53-page NDA that everyone who ever worked on it signed.
Oh.
I signed that NDA 13 times on 13 different contracts, the exact same one. So I'm going to tell you a story that I'm not asserting is true.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you a great story, though.
Please be about
not saying
Donald
it-
Trump saying the N-word.
No, it's not. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but, I'm not asserting this is true, but I'm going to tell you a story.
Yes.
So if you've ever seen shows like Shark Tank or Survivor, they do these home packages, right? And this is the first time I've ever done field like this. And my producer, who is now like one of my greatest mentors, was very tough on me. I was very nervous. But we're going to Bloomington, Indiana.
Ooh.
Down I-65 from where I grew up. And I'm very excited. And so, we would fly, the 2 producers, the camera guy, and a production coordinator back in LA would hire the other crew. We're flying from LA to Indiana.
And your crew is what? Like a sound guy,
A camera guy, and a PA.
That's it.
Yes.
So like $2,000 a day.
Correct. Now, on the trip previous to this, I dislocated my shoulder on an off day.
Oh, no.
By stand-up paddle boarding at the lake in Burlington, Vermont. Tony, when they tell you don't get on the board till you're 5 feet in water, they're not kidding because sand underwater is concrete.
Oh,
and I popped my shoulder out. So I can't lift the gear cases. I need this PA.
Yeah.
We're flying west to east. We don't even get in till 9 o'clock. And I check my email. There's no fucking PA.
Oh, no.
So I call the production coordinator. He's like, what is this? Like, I'm having trouble finding a guy, but I think I got one. I'm waiting for him to call me back.
Yeah.
11 o'clock, I get the kid's name. Says his name is, I think it was Jake Miller. Okay. Actually, I know it wasn't, but I'm going to use a different name.
Good.
He says, Jake Miller. I'm like, oh, Jake Miller. Okay. That's cool. Thanks, Jake. I call him like, hey, man, 5:30 a.m. I can't load these cases. Meet me at the hotel. 5:30 rolls around. Guess who's not there? He's not there. Jake. And so I call him like, where are you, Jake? And he's not answering his phone. So I get the hotel guy to call the other hotel. He's like, yeah, I'm at the wrong hotel. And my boss is like fucking pissed at me. And she doesn't like me at this time anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, Jake, just meet us at the first location. I'll load this. And I repop my shoulder. We get to the first location. He can't find it.
Jake!
We get to the second location, which is at Indiana University, and now we have this worm from IU following us around because he thinks we're shooting like an infomercial about IU.
He's never heard of Shark Tank?
No one had. This is like season 5, 4. Like
Okay.
it was.
You're on real TV.
Yeah, but season 4 is when it took off because that's when Cubans started being involved. So we get to the second location. Jake doesn't show up till midway through the second location. I'm like, all right, man, I need Crafty. Go get some. Okay. He doesn't come back. We go to the next location. He finally comes back. He's carrying the water. Okay. We do this location. We have one more location to go to. And this guy looks like Elijah Wood's like broken clone. You know what I mean? He's like shaggy. He's squat. He's kind of funny. Really sweet guy.
Yeah.
We finally get to the fourth. Oh, now he's like, okay, Jake, let's go to the fourth location. Meet us there. Can I ride with you? No, you just loaded the gear. I have to sit on the gear. You cannot ride with me. He goes, I don't have a car. I'm like,
That's been the problem, huh?
so we get there. The day is almost over. My boss isn't even talking to me because she's so annoyed that she didn't have a PA at a 4-location field shoot. Is nuts.
Is it?
Like I tried to do 2 before and after lunch. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, Jake, what do you do in Indiana, man? Or no, I go, Jake Miller. You know, my favorite law and ethics teacher in Indianapolis. Oh, he drove down from Indianapolis. My favorite law and ethics teacher was named David Miller. You like related? Because, you know, in the Midwest, anyone with the same name might be related, and you got to ask.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm not actually from Indiana. It's like, oh, why are you in Indiana if you're not from here? He goes, oh, I went to high school here. It's like, that's interesting, Jake. Like, and again, like, I feel so bad for this guy. Like, I kind of don't want to sign his time card. It's like, well, where'd you go to high school? He goes, oh, I went to Park Tudor. And I shit myself. Not literally, but Park Tudor, Tony, is the most expensive school in Indiana.
Oh.
There are Saudi princes who send their kids to live in Indianapolis to attend Park Tudor. This is, Buckley in LA is the equivalent.
Right.
Right. Like, these kids drive Escalades to school. And then I look at him, and my vision flashes because I can't, it's so strange. It's like cosmic horror. Like, everything goes wavy and reality ceases to exist. Because if you are from Indiana, you know that there was a child actor who actually went to school in Indiana because he did a little boat racing movie that filmed in Indiana. His parents heard about Park Tudor and thought it was very nice, and he wasn't doing movies anymore. So he went to go to Park Tudor, and his name wasn't Jake Miller. His name was Jake Lloyd, and he was Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
The little kid?
Darth Vader is the worst PA in the world. I had his shadow poster on my high school bedroom. And then my next thought is like, you were in Star Wars. How do you not know what an apple box is? I didn't say this, and he didn't tell me, but I saw it, right? And I don't have it with me, but I have a picture. I took a surreptitious picture, like I was pretending to call mom, so I could prove it. And then I got home and I looked at his paperwork, and his email address was at a custom domain. And if you typed it in, it went to the Jake Lloyd Facebook page.
Yeah.
So he left the trails for you to know.
Right.
I don't know if you know, but later he had a really tragic drunken police chase in North Carolina or something. Yeah, no, Star Wars broke him. Oh. And he was a really nice guy. I don't want to denigrate him. I don't know what he's up to now. Right. And so I get in the van and I'm like, guys, who the fuck was that? Was Jake Lloyd. And my Macklemore listening producer and her WeHo camera guy was like, who? Star Wars. Oh, like Patrick Stewart? Fucking guys. Yeah. And I've been sitting on this forever. I've told it to people, but I never told it in public. And I don't intend to ever go working on another Mark Burnett show. But besides, it's just a story I told you. I don't assert the truth of it.
But this makes sense.
Yeah.
Talent isn't going to be good at this.
What is he doing in Indiana working on Shark Tank PA?
It's got to be a girl.
No, I think it might have been. And he'd had his own production imprint, like everyone who's that age does, you know, which is how they found him. So he's very nice. I did pay him. I wish I could have played Warcraft with him. I think we talked about Warcraft a little bit. And that was that's the kind of insane thing that would happen.
What was your so on BattleBots?
Yeah.
You don't go back to their hometowns.
Well, no. BattleBots was too cheap, so what we would actually do is tell them to film it and send it to us, and we would edit it.
So what does a producer do on BattleBots?
Yeah, so there's all these bot teams. And the challenge with BattleBots is you have to conform your production to a tournament that must take place over a number of days. So it's the storytelling was very like reality TV, right? But the event coverage was more like doing an NFL game.
Yeah.
And in the real robot combat world, they call you up all right, your fight's up next. And if your bot's not ready, they're just like, okay, we'll do the next one. Doesn't really work on a television schedule.
Oh.
Right. So on the first season, I mainly helped the producer coordinate these fights and figure out what's what. But on the second season, I wrote the host binder, 118-page host binder for the play-by-play guys. It was 59 robot fights I wrote the research for.
You researched 59 robots?
Well, no, 59 fights because it was a tournament.
Oh, so you had to know both competitors.
Both competitors. Then when they advanced, I had to build the narrative. So I basically gave I wrote the play-by-play guys' narratives. And then I also worked with the stats team to incorporate the stats onto the board, which is the second job.
Now, when you say you write the narratives, how long are these narratives?
So I would do each fight be a butterfly book, page per team. So Chris and Kenny could open up the binder. That's
Right.
Chris Rose and Kenny from MMA. I'm so sorry, Kenny. You're such a nice guy. I forget your last name.
Yeah.
And so it would have the first section would be like prime story beats, right? Like original BattleBots champion, sells electronics in Florida. He's invented a new spinner.
So these announcers would look at this 10 minutes before the
Yeah, and I would
cameras
write
go
it
out?
like a beat sheet.
Right.
Like a bullet list.
So they'd look at it, they'd be like, okay, I know a little something about it. And,
Yeah.
and so it's like their cheat sheet.
And then I would also incorporate like 4 statistic hotlines they could drop in.
Oh.
Like, that 30-mile-an-hour spinner coming at him fast. Or it would be like they broke their axle last time and they had to borrow one from another team and it's not the right size.
So how would you know all this?
I would go talk to the teams in the pits. Or,
For how long?
Just any second I could get away. And I had known them from the previous season, so you just kind of form a relationship. And to be honest with you, I was doing 3 jobs at once. And the guys running the company, not the BattleBots guys, the guys running the production company were not good people. And I had a wedding I had to go to in the pre-production phase. And I'm in the LAX parking lot with my wife and a newborn baby. Maybe she's like a year. And my boss calling screaming because something wasn't working right, and you're fired when you come back. I had an honest,
Come back and then fix it, and then you'll be fired.
And I'm supposed to be flying to like Tampa, Florida, and I had an honest to God panic attack breakdown, sobbing on the floor of this parking lot, holding a baby with someone screaming at me on the phone. Oof. And it really broke my executive function. I was never really the same at work after that, to be totally honest. I'm on the max dose of sertraline. It's a godsend. That's Zoloft. And so that was like the other real thing about Hollywood, because there's this toxic mentality that if you're not dying for your job, then you're not doing it right.
Right.
And so later when I worked at a digital company, I made on-set safety, especially because it was non-union, I made on-set safety like my thing. And I have talked myself out of jobs because at the interview, I'll be like, you should know, like, set safety is like my thing. And, when I do my daily speech about, here's the fire exit, don't trip on these cables that are breaking the rules, I'm also going to mention that harassment is a safety issue.
Good.
And that, and by the way, harassment is a safety issue. If you feel that someone has made you uncomfortable for any reason, stop the show and let me know. If you don't want to talk to me, Kate over here is the most senior woman, go talk to her. Please tell us if we find out you've harassed someone, you're not coming back, because they don't do that. Right. And it's pretty much kind of why I stopped getting reality TV work, because I would make noise when they weren't doing these safety meetings. And anyway, so yeah, that was BattleBots. And I did that digital imprint thing. I did go back to Shark Tank and I got my final producer credit.
Good.
And I did a little crypto show. Well, then the pandemic happened.
Let's we have to wrap up.
Yes, of course.
Let's talk about you and your beautiful bride.
Yeah.
How'd you meet?
We met at a party. She was a pastry chef. I was unemployed. She started dating me unemployed, living in Echo Park, going to see indie rock like 5 nights a week.
Dude.
What a mistake she made.
Well, but no. Okay, you can look at it that way, or you're the man.
Yeah. You know what, though?
But this is why. They say that the only value that men have is what can they bring to the table.
Yeah.
And when a man is unemployed, he's not going to get any.
What
do you think she saw in you that you were bringing to the table?
I think, so she's from Orange County, and she was going to pastry school in L.A. I think she just didn't know a lot of people. She'd also, I think, had some previous boyfriends that had some kind of traditional notions, and I was not super pushy. You know what I mean? Again, like
Traditional notions like...
Well, just like... They were men's men, they didn't talk about their feelings. Honestly, like our relationship problem is I want to talk about my feelings. You know what I mean? But no, so we dated for a long time. I was ready to go buy a ring, and then I had an uninsured appendectomy.
Oh.
And they were like wheeling me in. I was like, here comes your ring. It's coming out. You got to wait a year. And she really cared for me during that.
Ah.
And then, so then we got married in 2012.
Where?
The coolest reception ever. So, my wife's family came to the United States in 1975 during the fall of Saigon. So they lived down in Orange County where there's a huge Vietnamese population. And so Ma would not come to the wedding unless we did a Catholic wedding.
Oh, okay.
So we did it at her church.
Are you Catholic?
No. Well, my dad's family was Catholic.
Okay.
I think the lore is interesting.
What Catholic lore?
Well,
the Pope?
Yeah, and look, anti-popes are metal. I wish we had an. Can you imagine the news coverage if we had an anti-pope? That'd be so fun. But then so we did the reception at Seafood World because the tradition in Vietnamese weddings is you go to a 10-course Chinese restaurant in Garden Grove, and you don't get wedding gifts. You collect a pillowcase full of cash that will pay for the reception.
Hell yeah!
And you don't do open bar. You jam a bottle of liquor and a 2-liter of Coke on every table.
Cool.
And so this reception was 1/3, Vietnamese first, second generation immigrants, 1/3 Hoosiers, and 1/3 Echo Park Silver Lake hipsters.
Nice.
And I got my friends, the Henry Clay people, to be the wedding band.
Those are your friends?
Yeah, I know, Joey.
They played all the time at Spaceland.
They did the New Year's show like 3 out of 4 days. Yeah. In my music blogging days.
How about that?
And they were kind of done, but I was like, Joey, I got a request. Play my wedding. I was like, okay. And so he got some of his other friends from the scene.
Real quick, who else was in that circle of indie rockers?
Yeah, so
I want to say Silver Sun pickups.
Yes, so I came in when Silver Sun was getting on Indie 103.1, and so people were looking at the next tier of bands that were opening for them.
Yeah.
Right, so this is when like the Silver Lake Lounge, the Echo, and Spaceland were the 3 Monday residencies.
Yeah.
And so you guys at Metro Mix, or Metro Mix would list a thing, LAist would list a calendar. Joe Fielder ran a blog called Radio Free Silver Lake.
Yeah.
He would list a calendar.
Buzz bands.
Kevin Bronson is my guy.
Yeah.
I've covered Coachella for Bronson for a number of years on his website. Yeah.
You ever play baseball with him?
No, I don't play baseball.
Right.
I'm not athletic, Tony. So
Kevin sent you to Coachella?
Ish. So I was going and he needed people to cover.
There you go.
So me, Kevin.
But because of that, you got a press pass, though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So me, Kevin, and Serafina Lithogma would cover almost all the sets. Right. And he would have, and it was great because we would go, we would see them, we would file as we went. We try to stay up so that they would go up like every 3 hours.
Right.
And it was so fun, and, but yeah. And then LA Underground, I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
He was like a mysterious guy.
Yeah.
And we would all, it was a scene.
What about Los Angeles?
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that.
With those really good photos that they would take.
Oh, and Jeff Weiss, of course.
Of course.
Like the smartest guy in LA.
Love him.
Koga Nuts was there taking pictures.
Was he really? God bless him.
Koga was Koga would give me photos that they didn't use on the LAist.
He is such a great guy.
I love Koga.
Yeah.
He took me. We saw the Henry Clay people in Vegas.
I keep trying to get him on this podcast. He's too shy.
Aw.
And you know what he does for a living, right?
Yes, I do. He takes pictures of the girls.
Yeah.
So when Henry Clay people toured with the Airborne Toxic event, who I also
that was the other one.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of.
They played the Hard Rock the week of what's the porn awards in Vegas?
Oh yeah.
AVN.
Right.
So Koga had a room.
Oh, cool.
And he's like, dude, come out to me. It's AVN. Henry Clay people are playing. So I went out to Vegas and saw him play there.
Okay, so they played at your wedding.
They did play at my wedding.
How great is that?
Yeah, my mom sang the John Prine song, Donna Lydia, with them.
Is she a good singer?
She's fine.
That's awesome.
It was really cool. And again, like, I love those boys. I've seen them now. I saw them in like 7 different states and like 31 different venues or something.
Yeah.
It was really meaningful because that's the point where I didn't go to live music all the time anymore.
Right.
And now we have 2 little ankle biters.
How is being a dad?
I love it. It's my purpose in life.
How old are you?
I am 41 years old.
Okay. So, and you've got these kids who are filled with energy.
Yeah.
At 41, is it hard to keep up with them?
It is. Yes, especially in the pandemic.
Yeah.
I
bet.
Because you couldn't, especially for the first couple of years, you couldn't take them anywhere.
Right.
And
you could go to the park though, right?
Yeah, we did go to the park, but it was just it's hard. But what I found out is that I'm a fine television producer, but I'm a home run dad. It is what I'm made to do.
Yes.
And it's really like I've been pandemic dad for 3.5 years now, and I love it. I go to the school board meetings.
Did you know that this was in you?
A little bit. Like I always I knew I wanted kids when I was a kid.
Right.
I definitely knew I married my wife Cindy because I knew she also wanted kids. I mean, that's not why, but that was always part of the package.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's cool because you can make your own playmates. Like my daughter plays Hero Quest with me. We do Mario Kart nights every Friday.
Look at you.
Me and the boy and my daughter.
Are you the dad that loves to read bedtime stories when they were littler?
Ooh, I love to read bedtime stories. Yeah, I give the greatest live rating of the Gruffalo that has ever been read. My favorite food, the Gruffalo said. You'll taste good on a slice of bread.
There you go.
Yeah. No, I love that stuff. And I love the opportunity to... This is an important thing. So we're at a time right now where the right to one's own body is under extreme duress. And I think, we all know pregnancy is deadly labor, right? Pregnancy will change a woman's body chemistry forever. A child is more than an 18-year commitment. And the reason we want to protect people's body rights is because no one should have to do that. And I do think sometimes, though, on the right side of history, we downplay parenting because we don't want to encourage the people who want to compel people to be parents.
Right.
And in my mind, parenting is a communal sacrifice. Tony, do you have kids?
No.
Someone's going to change your colostomy bag when you're older. And you didn't make that child. I'm making that child. Right. And that's not like a higher than thou thing, but it's that's a thing that we need. We need to raise children, and we need to raise children that don't want to be Nazis.
Yes.
And I really enjoy that part. My daughter, when she was 4, understood trans identity. And if a boy at school is like, only boys have penises, she'll get kind of angry. She's like, what are you talking about? That's stupid. And I really love that because I had negative perceptions when I was her age.
Right.
Right. And I love, it's not my personal redemption, but I love the ability to help build. It's not just that we have to leave a better world. It's that we have to leave people who will build a better one too. And it's the only thing I'm good at. And I have a captive audience. They have to listen to my stupid stories. So.
Well, I've enjoyed listening to
Yeah.
your very entertaining stories.
Thank you.
Not stupid at all. You're playing with these miniature...
Oh, no.
What would you call these?
This is my shame pile. This is Warhammer miniatures.
Oh.
So Warhammer is a tabletop war game.
Uh-huh.
Right. The smallest, it's expensive and stupid. I play the squad version. So I don't have 500 guys on the table. I have 6. And so these are for Warhammer terrain.
Oh.
So I have some dollar store pallets.
Yeah.
That look like whatever.
They look like the pallets that we'd see on the back of a pickup truck.
Yes.
A stack of them. Except these you could fit in your hand. Yeah. Also on your table are, I think, a half dozen Elmer glue jars, some rubbing alcohol, of course, one cat, and a giant container of water.
Okay, so we've got slime time with my kids. That's the Elmer's glue. My wife.
Wait, you make your own slime?
Yeah. My daughter is selling slime at her school business fair, so we had to make GAC slime.
You make your own slime?
Yeah, dude. You know how to do this?
No.
It's really easy. It's Elmer's glue, baking soda, and a little bit of contact solution.
Like for eye contacts?
Yeah.
And that creates slime?
Yeah, it does.
And kids don't know this out there in the world?
Oh, no, they all do. There's YouTube channels.
So everybody's making their own slime?
Oh, yeah. That was the thing 6 years ago.
Okay.
On YouTube. And also, it's also an ASMR thing for college girls. College girls were really into making slime for a while. It's very satisfying to play with.
Okay, Ben.
Yeah.
You have to have your own podcast.
Okay.
You're just way too good at this.
Thanks. I love it. I wish
you're too good. You have too interesting of a life. We haven't even talked about your DVD collection, these little miniatures you have. You have a lot to offer.
Dr. Strangelove, Network, and There Will Be Blood is my American trilogy of films.
Have you taken your kids to the Greystone Mansion?
No, but they have been to the movie theater. We saw Mario.
But what I'm saying is that bowling alley is
at
Greystone.
Yeah. No, I haven't yet. And I haven't done the Bradbury building either.
I haven't either.
I'm bad.
And I used to work really close to it.
Did you? Well,
but it's a lot easier now that it's a blue bottle.
Yeah. Well, no, thank you. I enjoy it anytime. I love going on to hear my own voice.
Real quick.
Uh-huh.
When people are in North Hollywood,
yeah,
what should they make sure to do?
Okay. It might not technically be North Hollywood,
No, it's got to be technically North Hollywood.
Okay, well, I think it is.
Oh,
It's on. I'm saying like it might technically
not
be
sure
on the edge. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
not sure. The Good Night Karaoke Bar on Magnolia is the beating heart of the San Fernando Valley.
Really? The Good Night, K-N-I-G-H-T?
No, NITE.
N-I-T-E?
Uh-huh.
Even better.
Yeah, so it's not private rooms. It's a single stage.
Everybody hears you.
It used to be locals, super local. They did go under new ownership just before the pandemic, so it might have changed.
Yeah.
But I used to go there like 4 nights a week after the baby was asleep. I love the Good Night.
What were your songs?
So I would do karaoke on the road when I was doing field packages. So I have a repertoire of about 32.
What's your hardest one?
So they would say, I can do Psycho Killer.
Okay.
I can do Say It Ain't So. And I can
Weezer?
do all these things that I've done by the Killers off book. Like, I don't even look at the screen.
The first one, Psycho Killer.
Yeah.
From the album or from the movie?
So the album is the karaoke joints have. I wish I could do the Stop Making Sense version at karaoke. It would be great.
Yeah.
And then I also, my underdog hit, do you remember New Age Girl by Dead-Eye Dick? Like 1995 or 6.
No.
She don't eat meat, but she sure like the bone. You'd know it if you heard it. That was like the hook. But they would do it in like a radio box. It's like, she don't eat meat, but she sure like the bone.
Yes!
Yeah. It's a great little like power pop 3-minute rocker. I love that kind of stuff. But I love karaoke because people bare their souls to strangers.
Yes.
And once you understand that no one learns to sing a song in public unless that song means something to them.
Right.
And if you celebrate them when they're on stage, you've got a friend for life the next time you see them.
Yes. Well, this has been a pleasure.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you so much for inviting me over.
Absolutely.
We were going to do it at my house. I'm so glad that you changed
Me
your
too.
mind because I forgot that this was the cat house.
Yeah, it's a cat house.
And so hopefully you'll be able to share some photos with me, some videos so that we can put up on the blog. And you got anything to plug?
Hire me to write things.
No, okay.
No, I don't.
What would you like to write?
What I really loved is I love when I got to do kind of like talk panel shows.
Okay.
So when I was at Nerdist, we had a couple shows like The View.
Yeah.
Right. I love prep for those kind of shows. And I do also write jokes. Like we had a game show and like my favorite gags were like, it was kind of like at midnight where the game didn't matter. So we would do things to decide who goes first. Right. And it'd be like, guess how many slices of pizza I stuffed in this carafe.
Ooh.
Right. Like that kind of stuff is fun. No, I don't really have anything to plug. I would say go vote, donate to trans organizations, and TNR your cats with fixnation.com.
Are there any websites?
Yeah. I've benmcshane.net.
Okay.
I'm also at TVBen on all the things, at TEEVEE Ben. You can find me on Blue Sky, getting horny on Maine. Are you?
I don't know anything about Blue Sky.
All I'll say is, of all like the Twitter replacements, it's the first one where whole Twitter communities have relocated. Oh. Like the LA Austin film Twitter. They're all there talking there too. It's the first time where I thought, oh, this one might stick.
Yes.
But it's also like all about like Jake Tapper is skeeting about Alf's penis. So if like Jake Tapper does not GAF on there, so he's like shit posting with the rest of us.
I love it.
It's great. Anyway,
Ben, God bless you.
thank you, Tony.
How great was Ben? You know who would also probably have a kick-ass catio? Our Patreons. When you stoke us, you're saying, Tony, Jordan, how cool you introduced us to Ben. Take our money. So shout out to our Patreons. Nancy Rommelman, Sean Atlow, Matt Mills, Sean Wallace, Greg and Molly, Jamie Taylor, Mark Johnson, Kira Ann, Barney Grinke, Ben Welsh, Jen Adams, Trevor Wilson, Bree Wild, Dougie Gyro, Christina Up North, Robin Carey, Adam Shorn, Ben from Down Under, Chris from the ATX, and Gregor. To be a Patreon, just go to patreon.com/hereinLA and give until it hurts you in the... Also, shout out to our Angelinos. To be an Angelino, all you got to do is PayPal or Venmo, $25 or more, and we will list you on the Here in LA website or Medium blog forever. Special shout out to our newest Angelino, Sean Atlow. Merci beaucoup! Just send your hard-earned cash to busblog@gmail.com. Want to support us, but you're part of the WGA writer strike? You can still help. Post your favorite episode on your Facebook. Ooh, post 2. Tweet something nice about this. In fact, anytime you see us tweet about an episode, retweet it. And for God's sakes, tell your friends. Tell them how Here in LA is spelled, and that it's on Apple Podcasts and Google and even Spotify. Here in LA is produced by myself, Tony Pierce, and a man who not only loves cats, his name is Cats, Jordan Katz. Editing, mixing, and music supervision by Jordan Katz. Songs by Oregon and Jordan Katz. Special thanks to Cindy for creating the logo, Jen for inspiring this, and moms and dads who are loving raising the next generation. Thank you, Patriots!